Hello everyone and welcome to our pre-recorded lesson for the beginning of block 6. So this video is going to focus on CEM lesson 1. My name of course is Chris Pearce and we're going to be going through all the content of lesson 1 for CEM. So let's bring up the slides, and as you can see here we've got the book that you need. So this is quite a thick book. It's a practice test Let's book with all the papers inside. So if you can make sure that you've got that one out if you are watching the video through. And let's have a little look through what we're going to be covering off in this particular lesson and really the focus within the block as well. So we're delighted to be moving into block 6 with you. This block will concentrate on exam practice. It will also develop an understanding of the actual 11 plus exam format. We will be using separate multiple choice sheets for the majority of the lessons, so make sure you've taken those out and you're ready to use those alongside the papers. We'll also have an opportunity to practice CEM, consecutive CEM time sections. So that's how it will be in your actual exam in September. We're also going to cover off all 4 subjects. So there'll be verbal, non-verbal, numerical reasoning, which is the maths element, and also English comprehension as well. You'll also become very familiar with the symbols or the types of symbols that will be used in the exam. And we'll also have an opportunity to use the audio download as well, so that will be very beneficial to you. This block will also highlight any strengths, any weaknesses that you still have, the areas that you need to focus on, and there'll also be homework that will continually build further knowledge and exam technique. So let's have a look at the lesson plans. Let's just see what we're going to be covering off. So within this lesson, we're hopefully going to get a deeper understanding of what the exam format will be like, and we're going to be focusing on 3 particular topics. Let's just get the pen. We're actually going to be doing some work on comprehension. There's going to be a comprehension activity. There'll be some reshuffled sentences and what they call shuffled sentences in the book, and also going to do some synonyms. You can see here we've got an audio button, and we're going to be doing quite a bit of that as we work through the block, and we'll talk about the homework towards the end. So if I can ask you now to get that book, that very thick book, and turn to page 3. Now, both of the papers will have audio instructions in order to prepare your child to listen and act upon them. This is how the examination will be invigilated. It will be a CD that you'll actually be using. And also talk to you about the audio warnings, about the time remaining, and also about how to listen to those instructions, of course, while you're working through each section. And at the bottom, we're also going to talk about some of the symbols that are used as well. So we've got a continue working, which is like an arrow. So you obviously need to keep turning the page over. A stop and wait symbol. When you see that, you need to wait for further instructions. And of course, with these books, you can obviously review any sections that you found more challenging. And certainly that's what we'll be doing in the lessons, is reviewing each of those sections. In the instructions, your child should look for the time allowed, how many questions there are, and how to complete the answers. That's really important they get an understanding of what they've got to do. Examples will be at the beginning of every section to show you the type of question included, and also there'll be examples through the audio that you'll need to work through. Each question is worth 1 mark, so for the purpose of marking, each test is split into 2 subject areas. We've got maths, which includes numeracy, problem solving, and non-verbal, and then we've got English, which also includes the verbal reasoning sections as well. Now, it's quite important that you have the multiple choice sheet out. So you will find this in your book, and it will say Test A, Paper 1. So that's where you're going to need to go. Now, it's in your book, so if you can make sure that you've torn that out. Now, if I give you a bit of direction on this, if you go to page 96, and the next page after that hasn't got a page number, but after page 96 you will find the first multiple choice sheet, and it begins with comprehension on pages 6 to 9. So if we can ask you to take out that multiple choice sheet, you can obviously put in your name, you can sign as well if you want to, but each of the answers are going to be recorded with a horizontal line through the letter. So give you a bit of time, of course, to get that multiple choice sheet ready out of this book. So it's the page after page 96, and that's the first multiple choice sheet that you're going to need. It is double-sided, so you're going to be using the first part, the comprehension and reshuffled sentences, and then the synonyms will be on the back, but you'll also need it later for lesson 2 as well. Right, if I can ask you then please to go to the Get Started Test A Paper 1. So this is right at the beginning of the book, and I'll just direct you on the page number. This is going to be page 5. So you need to make sure that you're on page 5. Just write page 5 here so you can find it. Now, we are going to listen to the audio instructions here, so this will go through these instructions down here. So if you just listen to this carefully. We'll put Billy up in the corner just so it's easier for you to listen.
Test A, Paper 1. Ensure you have pencils and an eraser with you. Make sure you are able to see a clock or watch. Write your name on the answer sheet. Do not open the question booklet until you are told to do so by the audio instructions. Listen carefully to the audio instructions given. Mark your answers on the answer sheet only. All workings must be completed on a separate piece of paper. You should not use a calculator, dictionary, or thesaurus at any point in this paper. Move through the papers as quickly as possible and with care. Follow the instructions at the foot of each page. You should mark your answers with a horizontal line, as shown on the answer sheet. If you want to change your answer, ensure that you rub out your first answer and that your second answer is clearly more visible. You can go back and review any questions that are within the section you are working on only. You must await further instructions before moving on to another section.
So hopefully that makes sense. Those are the instructions for this particular paper.
Comprehension. You have 9 minutes to complete.
So we are now going to move on to the comprehension section, and this will go through the instructions on how to answer this comprehension. We're not actually going to play the audio at this stage, but we would do that in the live lesson. But the comprehension instructions will be explained, and you'll be told how long you have, and it'll also go through some examples as well. So we're going to have a little look at the first comprehension you've got, and this is an extract from The Chocolate Revolution by Roald Dahl. So what we'd ask you to do is read that down through, underlining anything you think is important. There are a series of dates there which might be important, but underlining anything you think is relevant, and then we've got a series of questions that are going to follow. So let's have a little look at the questions. Question 1, according to the author, when does a person's chocolate consumption begin to decline? Decline means to go down. Before their 10th birthday, after their 5th birthday, never, on the arrival of puberty. And if we go back to the passage, it says here, with the advent of puberty, there is a gradual decline in consumption. So the answer to question 1 is D. Let's go and have a look at the next question. Why were shops called sweet shops and not chocolate shops? Well, the answer is because they sold mainly sweets rather than chocolate. And if we go back to the evidence, it says here, there were very few delicious chocolate bars to tempt us. That's why sweet shops were called sweet shops and not chocolate shops. Question 3, which of these types of chocolate is not mentioned by the author? And the answer here is Bounty Bar. So dairy milk, whipped cream, walnut and marshmallow bar. I've actually highlighted those there. So we've got the dairy milk, the whipped cream, walnut and the marshmallow bar. If we come back to the questions, Bounty Bar is not mentioned. Let's have a look at question 4. According to the passage, which of the following did the author spend his money on? Well, if we again go back to the passage, you can see here he spent it on sherbet suckers, gobstoppers, licorice bootlaces and aniseed balls. But if we come back to the passage, come back to the questions rather, option 3, Skittles, is not mentioned. So it's only options 1, 2 and 4 only. Then we've got question 5. What does the author suggest that licorice was made from? This is a little bit gory. Here we are. The licorice was made from rat's blood. So if we come back to the questions, it was C. Question 6, according to the author, how long did it take to transform the chocolate industry? And there's a line here which says, then came the revolution, and the entire world of chocolate was suddenly turned upside down in the space of 7 glorious years. So the answer to that question was 7. Have a look at question 7. What was chocolate first used for? Again, if we look back at the text, it talks about chocolate was first used by the Spaniards, Italians and French in the early 17th century, but only as a drink. So we can mark that down for B. Question 8. From which country did the inventor of modern chocolate originate? It was actually Switzerland, and it talks about a Swiss chap called Peters mixed chocolate powder with sugar and condensed milk and made a solid bar. Chocolate, as we know, it was invented. As we know it was invented. Let's go back to the questions. So the answer was Switzerland. So you can hopefully be ticking these off as you go down through. Question 9, what does the word wonderful mean? Well, it means amazing, not feeble, it means weak, not destructive, and not fortunate. And the last question, in which year was the fruit and nut bar invented? And if we go back to the text, we can see here, I've actually not highlighted it, so I can just highlight it just so you can see. In 1928, Cadbury's fruit and nut bar popped up on the scene. So that is the end of those questions. Hopefully you've been able to check them down through, and hopefully you've got most of those right. And as we always say, going back to the text to confirm our answers is one of the most important skills. Moving on now to the next section, these are what we call shuffled sentences. So we're going to be having a look through reshuffled sentences. This actually is a copy of the multiple choice sheet. We've just taken a little snippet here. So it's important, obviously, as you go down through, you are marking your answers on this multiple choice sheet accurately. And we're just going to have a little look now at those questions. So there will be an audio that will be played for this particular section. So we've got shuffled sentences, and here we've got 8 minutes. This is how long you've got in order to complete this section. And we should all know what a shuffled sentence is. This is where we have a sentence, but one word is not required. So it's important you can reshuffle it and find the word that is superfluous. So we've got an example here, which you are going to need to mark down. And let's have a look at the questions. So question 1, boy eaten the apple ate. The sentence should be the boy ate the apple. So again, what we can do is we can cross out the words that we've used. So the boy ate. The boy ate the apple. So the boy ate. Now it's interesting, they've actually left out one of the words there. So the word we didn't require there was eaten, but there should have been another word, which of course was the. Years old Sarah ate was 8. Sarah was 8 years old. So Sarah was 8 years old, and the word we didn't require there was 8. Sped, rode, flight, car along the. So the car. Sped along. There should be the word the there. So flight is actually the word that's not required there. And then we've got animals. So the farmer grew his crops. The farmer grew his crops. So animals was the word that wasn't required there. Let's go on to the next one, question 5. We had lots of homework, so the word timing is not required there. Question 6, we've got lifted. The desk was made of wood. So desk was made of wood. So lifted was the word that we didn't require there. And again, if we reorder 7, we've got So in actual fact, I've been eliminating through the answer options, but you can see actually it's probably easier to eliminate through the actual sentences themselves. So we'll do it slightly differently. So I'm just going to go back and review this. So we'll just do this again, because it might be easier to actually eliminate through the actual words rather than the actual answer options, because obviously they're not giving you every single answer option here. So let's just start this again. The boy ate the apple. So the boy ate the apple. So we've got eaten as the superfluous word. I think this might be easier to do it this way. Sarah was 8 years old. Sarah was 8 years old. So we've got 8 as the superfluous word. And then 3, we've got the car sped along the road. The car sped along the road. So flight was the word that we didn't need there. So I've only given you 5 options, so not including all the answer options here. Question 4, we've got animals, crops, the grew his farmer. So the farmer grew his crops. So animals is the word that we didn't require there. And then we're just going to rub this out again. I think it's easier to do it through the sentence. I think that will make more sense to you. So we've got question 5. We had lots of homework. We had lots of homework. So timing is the word we don't require. Question 6. The desk was made of wood. The desk was made of wood. So lifted. Question 7. Most of the students enjoyed the course. Most of the students enjoyed the course. So dislike was the word that we didn't need. So that was D. Question 8. We've got she made too many mistakes. So start with the pronoun. She made too many mistakes. So it's T-O-O we need there. So then too wasn't required. And then we've got gaze as the superfluous word. But the sentence should read, the wind blew through the forest. The wind blew through the forest. So we've got gaze as the word not required there. Question 10. We've got, and there's 2 options here. Noah loved his friends and family, or Noah loved his family and friends. Noah loved his family and friends. You could switch around friends and family if you wanted to. But open was the word not required there. Question 11. The young boy ran quickly. The young boy ran quickly. So into was the one we didn't need there. And let's go on to question 12. The city's inhabitants were upset. The city's inhabitants were upset. So capability was a word not required there. You can see these sentences getting a little bit longer, a little bit more complex. Frequent exercise can help prevent illness. Frequent exercise can prevent illness. Help prevent illness. So actually figure was a word not needed there. 14. The lawyer summarised the case of the jury. The lawyer summarised the case for the jury. So the number 4 is not required. And the last one, attacked, suffer, fellow, his inmates, prisoner. The prisoner attacked his fellow inmates. So suffer was the word not required. So just on 14 it would have been 4. Just to circle that one. So hopefully you managed to do those reshuffled sentences okay. Let's move on to the last section. This is a synonyms section. So again, I've just taken this out of your multiple choice sheet, but you will need, with this, you will need to turn over your multiple choice sheet to access this little section. So synonyms, we're looking for a word that means the same as the word on the top, and you're given 5 options. So you're going to need to select the word that means the same. So let's go down through these and see what we've got. So hopefully we'll be able to find all of these synonyms. So allow and permit. Let's get a highlighter this time. Then we've got blank and empty. cunning, clever. And we've got D, false is untrue. I think these are fairly simple, these words. Hopefully most of these you know. Glad, happy. You're able to rule out any options that are not right. Huge and enormous. Then we've got loyal and faithful. Rowdy and noisy. If something's rowdy, it's noisy. Number 9, we've got polite and courteous. 10, we've got rapid and quick. 11, we've got rare. So if something's rare, it's scarce. Real and genuine. Abandon and leave. 14 is wealthy and rich. 15 is impolite and rude. 16 is secure and safe. So again, double check that you're getting these correct. There's quite a few questions again in a quite short period of time here. On this particular section, you've only got 7 minutes, so it doesn't give you very long. 17, we've got drowsy as in tired, feeling drowsy. Weak and feeble. 19 is reply, it's a synonym for answer. And then we've got behave and act. How do you behave? How do you act? 21, classify. If you put things in groups, you're categorizing it. Condemn is criticize. Dubious, a bit doubtful. And then conflict and clash. So hopefully you managed to get those right. If there were any words you didn't know, put them in your word and meaning book. If you didn't know what dubious meant or condemn, then stick them in your word and meaning book, because these words often do come up again. What we'd ask you to do, please, for your homework is make sure that you are learning your spellings, and you're going to be focusing on test 1, and you will be tested on those next week. And looking at the homework section, you're going to need to complete week 1, and it's going to be in your Let's CEM quick practice test book, and you'll need to make sure that you go up to test 7. So you're going to be doing test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and there will be a video that will go through all of those answers for you. And there'll also be a separate video, of course, for the maths that you need to do for week 1 as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you found it useful, and we look forward to seeing you in your live lessons. Bye-bye.